an example. You were buying this school and paying cash, say, all those auto factors today, you pay cash for that school, right? Well, people would use that school for the next 30 years. So why should all people today pay for that school today when they're not going to use it? It spreads out big purchases for a longer period of time and more people to pay for that, sharing the cost of that. Hopefully that will simplify it. That's the concept.
I got here a little late, and I hear you were talking about buying this piece of property or somehow financing this piece of property. Are you going to do that without going to the referendum, without asking people? It's a heck of a big piece of property to do that. You're really circumnavigating your financial responsibility by doing that. Let me tell you, I've been in business all my life there in this town for 40 years. And I never heard anything this magnitude, especially when you're coming right off of a failure of a developer who was supposed to be a creme developer. And you're going to go around the taxpayer who's ultimately going to pay it with or without interest. I mean, this guy's going to do it. You know, tax me for it right up front. At least be honest with him. You're going around behind him to do this deal. A very speculative piece of property, I may add. You're expanding your bridge here now into this little bottleneck, and you're not even putting on roads. So where's your foresight on that? You know. And then what's going to happen to all the merchants that are up on Rubber Avenue who are getting beaten down by the economic laws because commerce isn't down here. Commerce is in New Haven Road. And then when you drive down the Haven Road, you take a look in the old Peter Paul company there. Look at the crater they're doing that with that pollution reabatement they're doing there. And that was just what? Sugar? This property, you know, like I say, I was born and raised in this town. This property is seriously done. I just had a abatement done in my kitchen. And it cost me $6,000, and I had little tiles. But I just wanted my house to be the piece I was working on, blue-right. This thing's, how much do we spend across the street here? At least $4 million, and it's still probably not up to snuff. Those regulations are getting tougher and tougher all the time, and you can't make commerce come down here. You can't make it. And if you do this property and spend this kind of money by going around the taxpayer, then what are you going to do for Rubber Avenue? There's commerce there. And there's a lot of need out there. A lot of need. So I don't like this idea the least little bit. And I'll bet you if you went to referendum, and each one of you are the leaders of our town, and I know you've got the right interest in our town, but you're scratching the wrong. It's a horrible investment. It's not a bad investment. It's a horrible investment.
Because they know that they won't go around clean up the area, should make it more attractive. This business may come over here. You know,
we gotta have one at a time, and we're really. I know this is very loose, but we usually want you to say your name.
Its taxes, Bob?
Excuse me?
Is this property current?
On the real property taxes, they are current. There is an arrearage in the personal property, which is significantly less. They are on a payment plan, which includes the interest to repay that. A lot of the comments that you stated, we have addressed. It's not a skirt around the taxpayers. This is a special meeting. We're allowing very open dialogue here. At this point in the process, in many cases, we're still in executive session. You've got a purchase and sales agreement on the desk there. So this is not an attempt to skirt law. This is an attempt to make a decision of where we like our...
Skirt the law. You're skirting the residents of this town, not just the taxpayers, the residents of the town. Because everybody's going to be affected by this project. This is not a, you know, we're not putting together two little bricks.
Well, I guess I don't want to turn it into too lengthy of a conversation. What's your proposal for downtown? When you look at...
Let the law of economics settle themselves. When the property prices are right, commerce will go there, will stay there as long as it can make money, and then it'll leave. Let fair market.
What is the fair market?
Fair market.
I don't think Mr. Herb understands how to obtain
And I said, I wouldn't buy it for nothing, but I said, you'll probably get around $3 million for it.
Guess what? We're proposing to pay less than that.
How much less?
So we're paying,
Two.
we're proposing to pay $2 million for property.
But $4 million over here for abatement, and it was much more over there. Everybody in this town that grew up in this town knows that the pollution on that side of the Maple Street is horrendous. To touch that building, like I say, I just did the kitchen, the little kitchen floor. It cost me $6,000 to take up some 10 by 10 tiles. You rebate a building that size, built in late 50s.
One of the things that, yeah, let's do this just so that we can do this orderly. If you'd like to speak, come on up to the podium. We can still engage in the dialogue. But one of the things that you missed before you got here was we didn't do parcel C in terms of the remediation the way we would do parcel C now. The laws have changed significantly. We attempted to completely remediate that property to 100% environment or 100% residential standards without knowing what the site plan of that property was going to be. The laws have changed, the methodology and the efficiency behind environmental remediation has changed. There are ways to subdivide properties, have deed restrictions on properties. You can even do residential subdivision in certain manners on properties that have deed restrictions on them. And I think it's very easy to talk, no disrespect intended, about what you did in your kitchen. This is not a residential home. I mean, this is the future of downtown Naugatuck. This is not something that we've decided overnight, hey, let's go buy a building. It represents what we're going to look like. And I was going to ask you the question, how long have we been looking at it like it is now? What do you expect to, in 20 years, what do you expect it to look like if the borough is not involved in this transaction? Because my guess is it's going to look exactly the same. And we're going to look at $2 million 20 years from now and say, wow, that was a good investment. Or, oh my goodness, they made a really stupid decision.
End of the conversation. It's just let the voters do it. Everyone's going to have to pay for it. Residents.
At what level do you remove the elected authority of people who have been voted upon to make the decisions that are quite complex from the process? We are elected to make the decisions. A recommendation has come from the Naugatuck Economic Development Corporation, which was founded on the principles of making smart, long-term, nonpartisan decisions between the business sector, the nonprofit sector, and the public government, who unanimously supported that. At what point do you say as a community, I trust the people in the places to make the decisions? Because quite frankly, I'm doing this as a resident of Naugatuck. I want my children one day to look 20 years from now and say, you know what, at some point somebody made a choice to say we're not going to do the same things over and over again and wait for the next Uniroyal or wait for the next store X to come to Naugatuck. And you know what? If people told me, you got a choice. Do this now and leave, or take it off the table and stick around for a while. I'll say, give me the box, because I would gladly turn the keys over. This is such an important decision for our kids. It's such an important decision for the future of this borough. It's not simply correlative to what we do in our private lives, in our homes, and etc. This is the fundamental choice of where we want to be as a community in the future. We've tried to wade through a very difficult recession, a process that was very impacted by that recession with Alex Conroy, and now we're sitting here with the lessons that we've learned, one of which very much being the site control matters. And without the site control on properties that have issues like this, it's not going to magically happen.
The history of the borough, though, as a landowner taking parcels of property, I mean, it's been horrible.
You mean the parcel on Meadowbrook Place that we chose not to buy 10 years ago, right next to Cross Street School for a song that we ignored, and they put X number of houses on there and created issues relative to the proximity to the sewage treatment plant? Do you mean the land that's up by Fawn Meadow right now, which the borough was offered to buy, which could have had not only value to the borough, but also reduced the residential development in this town? Because I'm looking at it the opposite way. We've had opportunities to control the destiny of our future, and what we ended up having was more residential houses built on subdivisions because we didn't have the courage to act at the time that it was needed. That's been my history of the borough, not owning land as a resident, a lifelong resident of this community.
I see the property that was developed down on Cross Street, and that parcel went for $175,000 because I was looking at it. And look at them homes that were built in there. A private person did that. And they're beautiful homes, and take a look at them. They're $8,000 a year in taxes. They're paying for it. They're paying their freight.
Mr. Herb, you're also putting a stress on our budget as well, because they have children, they require garbage, they require plowing.
What are you going to do for your residents? You know, that's what you got to do. You got to give them
Oh, no,
fire
I
protection.
don't disagree with you, but the cost of what we're collecting in taxes, I would love to see what the financial comparison would be between what they're paying in taxes compared to what the financial burden is.
A higher cost of a house brings less children into it. If you have a $400,000 home, believe me, them people that are residing in that home probably don't have 2 children.
The statistics don't
Probably
support
don't have
that.
2 children.
The statistics don't support that.
Yes.
Dr. Robert Tucson, on Middle Street, whatever you have on the table already, you have to go for it. I agree, maybe the building is priced high, it's priced low, you don't need the buildings. I agree with you on it. You have to go forward. If the ownership requires us to lease to that, I have a problem. I don't know if we have to take them on as a tenant. If we have to take them on as a tenant, it's paying for the lease payment agreement over the next 5 years. That's what I'm hoping it has. And I think that's an issue that a lot of people have, with that. $2 million, just take it. I own 2 business properties on Middle Street. One was owned by Dr. Hill years ago. I bought it because the people that, they had it were renting it out, and doing somewhere stuff. Basically, you need to own property if you're going to do something with it. And anybody that is in business knows this, Eddie knows it, I know it, everybody that here that has a business realizes that if you own property, you're better off than if you just sit there and wait for something to develop. So the town's going to own it, and the town's going to be able to do something with it by having ownership. You're right, you can't. You have something on the table, you've done your due diligence, Gary's done it, Eddie's done it, all things with due diligence, and you have to go forward because you can't wait any longer. I agree with that. The part that I have a problem with is we have to enter into the lease agreement with the data. Do we need their money that badly to pay back the note? And if we do, is that important? How much you get from the data? There are areas of rate for some property taxes. Are they going to be able to pay the rent?
So, first, the answer to your question is we do not have to lease to GDC. It would be our option if we choose to do that or not. Our attorney is actually negotiating with GDC for a couple of reasons. One is that any revenue we bring to that property is allowed us, I think that's a good thing. Having revenue come, we have an existing tenant, potential tenant there who provides whatever number of jobs and talk about. So we like the concept, it may be harder to get some other tenants going to the already have something there. If the terms of the lease or something that we as a board think makes sense to the town. The question as to GDC's fiscal issues, the sad truth of this is that because now they're going to take off the big note that they have to mortgage company and land, they're going to be more viable than they would be without that. So there is a lot of questions, are they viable right now? We will sort of in this deal lower their profit because now they're not going to have to make that payment on that huge facility, which we're only using about a quarter.
They sublet to ABW.
They sublet to 2 small subjects to other.
They sublet to ABA and UW. I have had discussions with them that that's not a long-term arrangement for the borough. Obviously, they're a business in the community, they employ people in the community, so we don't want to remove them immediately, but we have expressed to them that ultimately they would need to find a suitable location. We work with them at the time. Datacom, as Mayor Ron said, does not need to be a tenant there, but quite frankly, even in the original proposal for Renaissance, they were to potentially remain in that building. If they are offsetting the debt service, the rental agreement that we reached for use and occupancy, which is in the document, which again only extends 60 days past closing, is based on $2.35 a square foot. or 80,000 square feet of the first floor. So that payment will help offset the debt service to a certain degree. And does it help to have someone in the building when you're not sure exactly what his long-term future will be? I would say the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I think, ownership is the key. You've got everybody on the same table, and I think it's fine. You have no choice. The way referendums would be nice, then you have 1,000 more ideas, you have 5 years to wait. So, trust me, I've been there just as long as you've been there, watching the buildings deteriorate. Daddy's been there, we've all been there watching this disease, this cancer overtake our center of our town. There's other parts that are flourishing, there's other parts that need help. This is no brainer.
Just follow my